One of the more fascinating motorcycle sports is trials riding. Now, it's not about speed, it's about balance, composure and judgment. Now, I've put myself into a local event to actually physically take part, and I'm going to get a little bit of advice from Steve Saunders, ex-British champion.
Trials riding is a competition made up of sections with a variety of challenges. Each section has 3 routes to suit riders' ability: novice, intermediate and expert. Within each section you can be penalised for a foot down, known as a dab, stalling the bike or loss of forward motion. A clean section scores 0 and the winner at the end of the day is the rider with the least points.
Now, Steve, how do we tackle a section like this? Talk me through it.
Well, basically, I mean, what we're going to do is walk through the section and check out all the obstacles that you've got. Obviously, you've got different colour flags here, reds and blues and yellows.
What am I following, Steve?
You're following the yellow ones.
Right.
So basically, you come in here and turn left instead of going across the ditch.
And what am I looking for? What's my immediate pitfalls? Is there anything that you sort of stands out? You think, right, watch for this, watch for that?
From your point of view, the first thing you're going to be really finding a problem with are the trees here. Obviously, pretty slippery.
Yep.
You know, you need to take your weight back a little bit on the bike and let the front wheel glide over. Don't be coming too quickly at them. Just go over them nice and steady.
And what sort of gear would I be in here? Would this be a second?
Second gear, yeah.
Yeah. And would the whole section be a second?
The whole section is second gear for you, yeah.
Right. Okay. And what designates the end of the course then, when the section finishes?
Well, where it says ends.
Well, that's fairly obvious then. That's a question I wish I hadn't asked. All right. So once you've perused the course, then it's back to your bike and load up and have a go.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's give that a shot.
So far, so good. Yeah, now he needs to accelerate a bit. Yeah. Shut the power off. He missed the ends cards, unfortunately. But apart from that, it was a beautiful ride for a clean.
Sort of watching what I was doing, is there anything I can improve on there?
Well, to be honest, you rode that really, really well. You know, much better than I was expecting you to. I mean, that's really, really slippery. You probably need a little bit more of a challenge now.
Oh, well, on to the next section
then. On to the next one.
Great. Looks a bit tricky here, Steve.
Well, it's nice and steep, isn't it? So you need to be steady down the hill, lean the bike into the corner very slightly, and make sure the bike goes round. Because obviously you're coming downhill, so it's all going to want to go straight down there. So you've got to make sure it doesn't. You've got to turn it into the corner. So you've got to lean the bike into the corner and try not to lock your wheels.
Oh, well, this is a bit more of a challenge then, isn't it?
This is much more of a challenge. Certainly this first corner is, yeah. That's lovely.
Oh,
Pardon? You did that really well, actually. Coming down the hill was really good, but unfortunately stalled the bike on the corner, so that is a 5. Still, you wanted something a bit more of a challenge, didn't you?
It can be very frustrating, this, Steve, can't it? Because you get down the bottom of the hill, you've made the move, you've got the tricky bit, and then you stall the engine. It's like, you know. Well,
it's like anything, isn't it? Like trying to put a jigsaw puzzle together. Until you got the last piece in there, it's not going to fit, is it? No, you're doing really well there for your first couple of sections.
Great. Well, I have to say, I'm absolutely loving it. It's so enjoyable. It really is.
Yeah, it is a fantastic sport.
Although taking part in this event, I am actually classed as a complete novice. I did get a day's training off Steve a couple of weeks ago. Well, Steve, we're in the woods in the Cotswolds here. Now, I've never ridden these bikes, style of bike, in my life. How do we start?
Well, basically, the first thing we've got to do is actually get you on the bike. Obviously, they're an unusual type of bike. Most bikes have got seats. And obviously, you can see there's a seat missing from these bikes. They're designed to be stood up on all the time. What we need to do is actually get you onto the bike and try and get your balance in. That's good.
I do find it's more luck than judgment, to be honest.
Yeah, well, at the moment, I mean, you haven't had much practice at it, have you?
No,
so
that's true.
It is more luck than judgment, but obviously the more you practice, the more you'll be able to judge all the weights, transference, really.
Because it's constantly little adjustments all the time.
Very small adjustments all the time, yeah. It's a bit like trying to ride a unicycle, really. You can't do it, but as soon as you pick it up, yeah, you can do it quite easily. Wow, you're a star in the first 5 minutes. what is actually good is the fact that you are counterbalancing the bike. As the bike is moving in one direction, you are actually counterbalancing it in the opposite direction, which is good. A lot of people haven't got the coordination to be able to manoeuvre across. You know, as the bike falls, they just fall across with it. Yeah. So that's a good sign.
It's a misspent youth on skateboards, I think.
That must be what it is. So we can actually move on a stage. Basically, what we're going to do, we're going to do a little circle here. It's only going around turning right-hand corners, but that's going to give you a basic idea of how to turn corners and how to feel the engine as well, and realise that you don't actually need to give them very much power for them to go around the corners. Very little throttle. Just shut the throttle off and allow it to run round under its own speed.
Ah. Interesting. It's quite unusual, Steve, to be in a sport that you're doing everything so slowly.
It is. I mean, that's one of the beauties of the sport, really. You know, it is a very nice controlled sport, and it's very technical, very precise.
I'm also quite amazed at how the bike seems to run at such a low rev, and it doesn't really feel like it's going to stall. It just feels very controlled.
Well, obviously, I mean, the bike is a specialist machine for trials, and with that, it is designed purely to be run at slow speeds.
Trials riding, there's many obstacles for the riders to get over. You never know what you actually come across until the actual day. But Steve's going to demonstrate here one of the more obscure things. I just hope he isn't going to ask me to do that. Start to get a bit too clever there. Please. I'm hoping that there isn't going to be an obstacle of that size for me to get over. But do they throw things even at beginners just to test you?
Absolutely, of course. I mean, you have to be progressing all the time, so you have to actually try and go over things. That's good. Nothing wrong with that. Excellent.
Very much a challenge, Steve, isn't it?
Well, it's got to be a challenge to be of interest, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's just showing off now. Well, as you can see, we've actually changed location now because Steve feels I need to basically try different terrains. So he's brought me into a quarry and he's just literally assessing this little bit of a run for us, and hopefully he's going to do it, and I'll follow him through it.
Section, call it section.
Section, sorry, section. Steve, I realise I'm actually being taught by a bit of a legend today. I mean, your track record is staggering, really. I mean, you've been 10 times British champion, you're second in the world. How have you maintained that?
I think it's just the actual love of the sport that keeps you motivated, keeps you interested in it. I mean, I am, you know, pretty much obsessed with this sport. I love every aspect of it. For me, this is the ultimate sport. There's nothing that's quite like riding a trials bike for me, anyway.
And what actually is it, Steve, that when you get on it, that is it for you?
I think from my own personal point of view, the fact that it is purely man against terrain, that's the only thing there is. You know, you are competing against the terrain. You're not competing against a clock or against somebody else. And if you beat the terrain, i.e. you get a clean in the section, nobody else can beat you.
Do you think it's a spectator sport?
It is. I think it's a very strange sport when you initially look at it, because obviously you're getting points for putting your feet down and you're getting 5 points for falling off the bike and things. But once you actually learn all the rules that are involved in the sport, then I think it's a very spectacular sport, yeah.
How do you think my chances are competing in a novice competition?
Well, they should be fairly good. If you ride as well as you have today, and you keep your mind working more and concentrate, then I think you've got quite a good chance in the beginners novice class. I mean, you know, bearing in mind you've only been riding a bike for a couple of hours now, so I'm quite impressed so far.
Well, thanks very much. What's the tip, Steve, you can give me that is the most important thing for me, obviously having a limited experience?
Well, I mean, I haven't actually told you where the venue is yet, but just have a look for the local hospital.
Thank you for nothing.
I think we need another day out.
There's a definite technique to this, Steve. Now he's taking the top line there, hasn't he, Steve?
Yeah.
And then through this bog.
Not too bad.
He's made that look very easy, hasn't he?
He has made that look very easy.
What's the best technique of riding through something like this, Steve? Because it looks like he was quite on the back wheel rather than over the front.
Exactly. I mean, he was trying to take a little bit of weight off of the front wheel so that when it got to the tree root in the middle there, the front wheel was going to be nice and light to go over, and he didn't have to lift the front wheel at all. And the weight, obviously, over the back as well. You put in the weight onto the back wheel, you get the maximum amount of traction from that. And what you've got here that's difficult is you've got to come up a bank and then sort yourself out immediately on the top. But obviously, when he's got on the top, it's all happened a bit too quick, and unfortunately, he was standing on the back brake at the same time, so it was difficult for the bike to move off. And then a little bit too slow through the bog as well, but not bad. Let's remember it's his first trial.
How long have you been involved in trials riding?
Oh, for 30 years.
And what made you get involved in the first place?
Oh, father. It stemmed from my father and his father before that, so it's been in the family.
So, I mean, when did the sport start then? No offence, but we're going back quite a bit then, aren't we?
You're going back before my time, but I should say that people have been competing in one shape or another since the invention of the motorcycle. And it wasn't really until later in the 50s, early 60s, where manufacturers started really producing a trials bike specifically for the sport. Then, you know, everybody's heard of Sammy Miller. Well, he was the man really who really started it and started pushing what happened. Although we had some very good riders post-war, really Sammy did convert the sport.
What would you advise somebody who wants to get involved in the sport?
Make yourself known. You know, this week, for instance, I've had 3 phone calls from lads who have never had anything to do with the sport. Can we come and watch? And you tell them where it is, and you hope that from that will stem an interest either from the adult aspect, or if they've got young lads and they're thinking, what can we do with them to keep them out the pubs, off the drugs? You know, let's get them into something where we all have a good laugh.
Well, he made that look fairly painless, didn't he?
He did.
Is that the same section I'm taking?
No, it's not. He's actually on the middle route, and you're on the beginner's route, so you don't go around there.
I don't go around the log, basically?
No.
Right. Looking at it, it does look fairly easy, but when you get in there, I found I had to put a foot down there. It was a bit slippy, and it can be quite frustrating, Steve, quite quickly, can't it?
You know, don't be too hard on yourself. But of course, when you're actually looking at something like that as well, you're looking at it, and you're not able to actually judge your speed, so it's not doing very much for your confidence at the moment. And of course, when you're not that confident, you're not relaxed, and you're not doing what you know you should be doing.
Alex, how long have you been riding?
About 5 or 6 years.
And how old are you now?
About 9.
You're about 9 years of age?
Yeah.
Brilliant. What is it about the trials riding that you like?
The wind.
You like the wind, do you?
And the wet.
You like the dirt, do you?
Yeah, a bit.
Do you find it quite difficult?
No, I find it quite easy and difficult, but something like today is almost like ice. A little kid on a little bike, you know. Not going to be really nice sort of cup of tea, really.
So have you got any tips for me for riding today?
Yes, I have actually. There's like smooth throttle control, bending your knees when you're going up streams and rocky kind of streams and that. When you come to big banks, you've got to go really smooth.
Really smooth, so smooth's the order of the day today,
Yeah.
is it? Well, thanks for the tip, Alex. John, you're one of the youngest riders here today. How long have you actually been involved in the sport?
Actually, just over 40 years now. I do know the sport inside out.
How did you get involved in the first place?
My father was involved in it in a small way, and he's always organised trials, so it just is in the blood, and it stays there.
Do you think that because of the technology that the courses have changed that much?
They have, but recently the old-fashioned rules have been reintroduced where it's not possible to actually become stationary on the bike in a section. You lose marks for that, so it's gone back to the old rules, which suits me right down to the ground as we just keep going.
So really, I mean, for anybody can just literally get into this sport. Really simple, isn't it?
Yep. Yep, it is quite simple. It is an initial expense, but you know, bear in mind that a trials bike does not depreciate as much as even a road bike if it's looked after. And I mean, you can spend £1,000 on a used 2, 3, 4-year-old bike, and you ride it for a year and probably get £900 for it, as long as you put the broken bits back on, like the lever that I've broken today.
And literally then, it's a helmet, a pair of gloves, a boots,
yep.
And that's it, isn't it?
And away you go. Yeah.
Now, you've got quite a famous father. Was he the sort of motivation to get you into trials riding?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. He was 3 times world champion in 76, 7 and 8. So he pretty much got me into it.
And do you think you have to be a particular animal to do this sport? You know, quite a level-headed sort of character?
Definitely. I think 95% psychological at the top levels. You have to be brave, and you have to have good concentration. There's lots of psychological elements in it.
Now, Steve, these sections, they're slowly, as all the guys keep going over, they're getting a bit more chopped up, and it's getting quite difficult. What about this section here, Steve? This looks difficult to me.
Well, this is by far the most difficult challenge I've had so far. This just because it's got loads of rocks in it, it's very narrow, it's got a few tree roots and things in it. It is hard just by its nature, really. And there is no, you know, they can't send you an easy way because there just isn't one. So you're going to have a bit of fun on this anyway. But what you've got to remember is just, you know, a nice bit of determination. Keep the bike going forwards, and you shouldn't be too bad, to be honest.
Well, trials riding's been around a long time. There's also somebody else we know that's been around a long time. It's Don. Let's go and find out what he's up to this week.
This sporty-looking motorcycle is a 1974 250 Ducati Desmo. It was designed by a wonderful engineer, Dr. Fabio Taglioni, who worked from 1954 to 1989 for Ducati. Ducati incorporated in many of these machines, most of these machines, the desmodromic system of valve operation in the engine. And simply, this means that the valves were operated mechanically, thus permitting very high engine revs without causing damage. What are the features of this machine which are worthy of comment? I think first of all one has to say the colour and the style. The whole thing really is quite beautiful. It's true that some people may not like it, but I think the majority of people would love to have a bike like this. It was one of the first of the Ducati machines to have electronic ignition. The disc brake was an option, and overall it's full of features which come from its racing history. They're all over. The Burani wheels, the Conti exhaust, the Serrani front forks, the dropped handlebars, the rev counter as well as speedometer. All of these features make this machine so interesting and attractive and reflect the racing history of Ducati. This bike is fun. It is difficult to come back from a ride without a big smile on your face. When you first get on it, it does seem very small. But the moment you pull away, you're onto a proper motorcycle, a full motorcycle. The feel, the response, the noise, everything is there. The handling is immaculate. Elegant is the word. It's like riding on an edge. It just does everything perfectly. It gives absolute confidence. You don't have to hesitate about anything. It just goes round the bends of its own volition, really. In terms of performance, it's designed to rev hard. It's got 5 excellent gears, and so you can take it up in each gear and drop it in quickly and smoothly. The noise, the sound is wondrous. Absolute magic. Fun all the way. The brakes are good, it's fast, it's capable, it depends on the state of tune, of reaching 100 miles an hour. This one would cruise all day at 70. I really couldn't say anything else about this bike. It's just a jewel of a motorcycle. The conclusion I reach on this bike is that Dr. Fabio Taglioni really had it right. A genius. It is a jewel of a motorcycle, and a credit to him.
I'm knackered. It's amazing how strenuous it is. If you can get through the sections cleanly, then physically you're okay. But every section I've had to drag the bike out of something, and it's very, very physical. And I have to say, I am knackered. Here we go, never-ending push. Well, there you have it, trials riding. This wasn't really a discipline I was actually looking forward to be truthful, but having spent a day doing this event, it really has been an education. Even the average riders, the skill level is phenomenal, and physically, I'm absolutely knackered and ready for a hot bath.